Well, I'm still waiting for some stuff to get in for my USS Grissom build, so let's go ahead and build a Star Trek Strange New Worlds communicator. Well, hey everyone, and welcome back to another Initiative Modeler. What I've got going on for you here is a short video showing the construction of a Star Trek Strange New Worlds communicator. This is a 3D printed project that I created using files from Limey Builds. He's a guy on Cgtrader.com. Good reputation for creating some really good files to work with, and he's got a number of different Star Trek designs as well as some other sci-fi stuff on his page, so I posted a link below. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, of course, is the new series from Paramount Plus that's currently streaming as of creating this video anyway. And it's a series I've come to enjoy, a lot of good feedback from fans, and one of the things I do like are the updates that they've done with the props. The phaser, communicator, and tricorder have all been updated to make them look sleeker, and yet given a very strong nod to the designs from the original series. So, I'm going to give you a closer look at this at the final reveal, but in the meantime, let's take a look at what comes with the file. So the file contains 10 parts in all, along with instructions, decals, and schematics to help with assembly. Now, as I said, there are 10 parts provided, but I only ended up using 7. The files include 2 versions of the lid, and I used the file labeled extra thick for strength. I also didn't print the placeholder provided for the moire decal and the hinge pin for the lid. And here's a shot of all the parts supported and ready for printing. LimeyBuilds also includes alternative parts if you're interested in lighting, as well as a display stand. Alright, so these are parts of the communicator. Pretty simple design. And so what we've got then is the main body here. And then we've got the ring that goes into here, and then these buttons will be placed into this section. And this is for the speaker. This is the back side, and we have the communicator lid. Now all of this has already been primed with gray duplicolor primer. Alright, so assembly should be pretty straightforward as well as painting. The body's going to be black. We've got this, needs to be painted silver. This is the trim, by the way, and it's going to fit in between here. And then the buttons are silver, and the speaker is kind of a gray color, and then the lid is going to be gold. Alright, so let's go ahead and begin construction here. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and slide this 1/16 rod now into here and cut it to the proper length, and then we'll see if it'll fit in here properly like it's supposed to. Alright, so I have the lid painted now with the metallic gold. Again, I used this here from Folk Art, and I just thinned it down to put into the airbrush. And remember, thinning paint successfully, at least craft paints, requires the use of a filter. And I can put the link down below again, but this is found on Amazon. It's meant to filter resin. And the filter screen is thin enough. I do it twice, and I've had no problems being able to spray through the airbrush, and I just thin it with water since it's acrylic paint. So I have this 1/16 rod here, and this again is something I found at the hobby store. It's a brass rod, and it's cut to the length so that the ends are flush to each side of the lid. Now the idea is the lid has to be free, has to move freely on the rod. The rod is the one that's going to stay secure to this section here. So I had to open this up a bit more because when it printed, it wasn't as deep as it should have been. So I just used a file and kept at it until it was deep enough so that our rod now is flush. But before we do any of that, we have to paint this black. Okay, we're getting really close to assembly here now, and so what I need to do next is to go ahead and print the decals that's provided with the STL files. So Limey Builds was kind enough to provide the pattern that we need inside our dial here, as well as a decal for the buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and print out the decals, and we'll move on to this next step. Okay, well the epoxy now is completely hardened, and as you can see I've got some nice free movement. Unfortunately, the lid doesn't close all the way. And the reason for that is because the rod should have been embedded deeper, so I should have made that groove deeper. And that is a mistake that I'll definitely correct the next time I print one of these, because I do plan on printing a second one. This is going to be used for cosplay anyway, so I'm going to move forward with what we're doing here. So the next step will be now to take our decals, and you can see I've printed several of these. I wasn't sure how well they'd turn out, so I made sure I give myself plenty to choose from here. I'm depending on a printer that I typically don't use, but I think these turned out pretty nice. So I'm going to select one of these and a set of the buttons, and I'm going to go on to some styrene plastic that's going to be fitted behind here, so you'll be able to see that through our opening there. And I think in order to make it look more finished, at least I think it would look more finished, I'm going to go ahead and add a clear piece of styrene that will be fitted on top of the decal. Alright, I'll go ahead and complete these last steps and show you the completed project in just a second. Okay, so here is the completed Communicator. The black body of the finished model measures about 4 1/4 inches by 2 1/4 inches, which is similar to the TOS replica by the Wand Company that I have in my collection. Comparing it to a screenshot of the actual prop, you can see the files purchased from LimeyBuilds allows you to create a pretty good facsimile. The lid freely opens and closes, but as you recall from earlier in the build, I mistakenly did not allow enough depth for the rod that the lid is hinged to, and unfortunately, this keeps it from completely closing against the casing. Painting was simple using craft paints for this project. The Folk Arts Gold worked well for the lid, and the body was painted with a 50-50 mix of Americana's Satin Black and Flat Black. One other thing that worked well was using a white piece of styrene to mount the moire decal for the dial, which I actually ended up painting light gray. The reason I did this was it helped to hide a very small separation between the decal and the physical edge of the dial. Next time I will be printing that decal just slightly larger. And placing the 0.005 inch clear piece of styrene over the decal also made for a more finished look. And I should note that for securing the body casing, it's suggested to use M2.2 by 13 millimeter screws, but I had to settle for number 4 half-inch oval head Phillips screws instead. This required minor modification to the holes and mounts that were provided. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the end results and was impressed by the quality of files provided by LimeyBuilds. Sometimes printed parts don't always fit as expected, but in this case, worked out quite well when it came to fit. Okay, well that is a wrap for this project, and by the way, excuse the washer that's going on in the background. That's what's making all that noise. But I'm pretty much ready here, or getting ready for the Star Trek BaseCon coming up in August. So I have now a Communicator. I also have a badge that I printed, just to show you a close-up of that. And I also purchased the phaser files from LimeyBuilds as well, which I will make a video of that build later on. And also want to direct you guys to a Facebook page, which I'll post a link to below, that follows a bunch of builders who make Star Trek props, either scratch builds or 3D printed. And I've been impressed with a number of them now who are putting electronics into their LimeyBuilds Communicator. Some have gone so far as to add in the iPod Nano that they use to animate the moire pattern in the dial. This is something that I found out about in a recent episode of The Ready Room. That's the show that Will Wheaton hosts after each of the Strange New World episodes are streamed. And in one in particular, he interviews Alex Kurtzman. In that episode, they also interview one of the guys who worked on the props, and that's how I found out about the iPod Nano that is used to create that pattern. So again, LimeyBuilds does provide an alternative backing here with that hole for a switch if you're just adding in some lighting. It also provides other buttons there that you can incorporate into the electronics as well if you wish. So that's something you can look into if you are that ambitious. I'm not that ambitious, nor am I technically that savvy to add in an iPod Nano. I'm not sure how complicated it is, but it sure looks cool. Alright guys, if you have any questions about this project, feel free to contact me here on my YouTube channel or at illustratedmodeler@gmail.com. See you in the next video.